gonna be talking about track arrangement. For this tutorial, I just made this simple beat, just an easy going beat. I just made this so I could use it as a reference point to teach you guys how to arrange your tracks. Okay, this is what we are gonna be working with. So if you listen to this, it's just a simple beat, just the chords, some percussions and the drums. All right, so today we are going to be using a track from DJ GREGOR, because if you want to professionally arrange your track, you need to reference a professional track. As a beginner, maybe as you get along, you get used to it and become good in arrangements. But in this case, we are going to assume we are all beginners and we want to learn how to arrange tracks as the professional do. So we are going to reference a professional track. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna minimize our FL here, then we look for the MP3 format of the song we want to use. You click and drag it into FL to an empty track like this. Allow it to load. Then we have the track there. So this is the track. So there's one thing about this track I love the arrangement, I love everything, I love how it was professionally mixed and mastered and all those stuff. So just trying to arrange my own track exactly the way this track is arranged, because it's a professional track. The first thing I do, I drag the track in. After dragging the track in, I have to zoom out a lot. To zoom out is just to hold down in control and roll the scroll wheel on the mouse. So I zoom out a lot, or you can just zoom out from here. Just zoom out for it. So you zoom out a lot. Now I have to chop off this part. If you can see from this part to this part, there's silence. We don't need that. Hold down my shift and chop it off. Boom. I take that part out. Then I align this track. I align the track. Yep. So now we want to arrange our track according to this track arrangement, because this track was professionally arranged. So we start from this first bar here to the fourth bar. So from the first bar to the fourth bar, so if you listen from the first to the fourth bar, you will discover the drums, the percussions, and the vocal chops is is on the track. So in this case, we're gonna have our drums. As you can see over here, I have the shakers, the chords, the shakers, number 2, the snares, the kick, the pegs, all in place already from the number 1 to the number 4. So all we're gonna do, we will listen to from 5 to 8, from the 5th bar to the 8th bar. Listening again. So if you noticed what he did with the arrangement here, he took out the drums, the kick and the snare, just the shakers and the percussion. So we bring in our shakers, bring in our percussion, bring in we are not going to bring in the snare and the kick. We bring in the pegs, all the pegs. So you just hold on control, highlight this and hold on shift and just left click and drag. So for this part, we have arranged it the way he arranged from the 5th bar to the 8th bar. So now we are going to arrange from the 9th to the to the 10th bar, or from the 9th to the 12th bar. So still going on listing. So judging from the wave over here, you can see that it's the same with it. So I think from the 5th bar to maybe the 20th bar, it's same thing without the drum. So you just copy this, paste, copy this, paste, copy this, paste. But we can still take a listing to see if we are correct. So you see, so we arranged it exactly the way he arranged his track. He took out the kicks and the drum. So for this part, we're going to listen from the 21 bar to the 24th bar and know what he did there. So we can arrange according to the way he arranged this track. So let's play and listen. So for this part, if you notice, he brought in the kicks and the snare. So what we're gonna do, we just grab our kick and our snare and just bring it in. Grab our kick and our snare and just bring it in. So listen again to the next 4 bar. So he did same thing for the next 4 bar. All the drums. The only difference between these bars is at this point of from the 28th bar, he took out the kick and the snare. Let's listen. So he just took out the kick. So we're just gonna take out the kick this way. So we took out the kick. Then let's listen to the next 4 bars. Listen to the next 4 bars. And what he did. So if you listen, the kick and the whole groove is still going. For the next 4 bar, the kick and everything, he just chop up the vocals and maybe make it not that repetitive as the first part of the song. So listen to the next 4 bars. So judging from the wave, if you can see the wave, I think it's same thing. Just drag and drop. It's not a must that you must copy everything he did. You can just arrange your tracks like that and maybe go from there, start adding your effects, start adding more instrument if you like, adding your effects and your transitions. So we're just gonna arrange tracks the way he just arranged his own. Then we're gonna come up with an idea by finishing our track. Then from there we'll still listen to the next 4 bar. So if you need thing at this part, he took out some of the percussions and the shakers, and just the kick and the snare was constant here. So let's say we're going to take out the shakers for this part. Take out the shakers. So let's listen to the next 4 bar. So for this part, what he did, he took out the kick. And the shakers. And switched the snare. But in this case, we're just going to leave the snare like that. But it's now up to you to be creative as you want. So you now switch the snare. So that's what he did. So let's listen to the next 4 bar and see what he did. So the next 4 bars is what he did. So the next 4 bar, he introduced everything again, all the drums, he introduced them. So we just got to copy this and paste. So he introduced everything. So the next 4 bars. So same thing, But along the track, he keep adding some effects, some transitions, some claps, some drum breaks, and all that. So it's not up to you to be creative with your own track and do it if you want to do it exactly the way he did it, or you want to add your own style and your own rhythm. But for now, we're just going with his arrangements, the way he did, the way he took out the cake and all that. So we listen to the next 4 bar what he did. So in this part, he took out the shakers, the kick, the snares. He took out the shakers, the kick, the snares, and did some kind of reverb effect. Did some kind of reverb effect on that, on this part of the song. So that will be another video on how to do your automation. So I think he did that with automation. So we listen to the next 4 bars. So same thing. So for this part, what I noticed, he took out some of the snares. So here we still listen to the next 4 bar. So you can listen the same thing, but the difference is he introduced the chords. And in this case, this is our chord we're gonna be using. So let's introduce our chord in this case. So introduce the chords, and voila, that's it. So move to the next 4 bars. So the same thing, introduce the chords too. So that's it. Then we listen to the next 4 bars. I think it's same thing for all these bars, man. Then in this case, we're gonna listen to this part. So what he did for this part is like an FS transition. He added some transition, and he like did some delay effect on the vocal chops that I used. For this video, I'm not gonna be using any vocal chops because I can't actually get what he did, the same vocal chops he used. But what he did was did some delay effects on the vocal chops and used some FS transition. So let's listen to the next 4 bars. So that same thing he did. Vocal chops for this part, he did the vocal chops to be repetitive and fast, and added some FS transition and some risers just to make that part interesting. Then we listen to the next 4 bars and see what he did. Then he brought back the drums and the percussions and everything. He brought it back. So you see, we have arranged our track exactly the way you can arrange this track. If you're listening, see, I moved in 4 bars. So now my track is arranged exactly the way he arranged its track. But right now I just need to add all these FX transitions and spice up my own track the way I want. So in this case, I'm gonna take out his own track and listen to our own arrangements to see how it goes. So let's listen. So just to keep this video short, this is the idea on how to reference a track and go with the arrangement. But we are not done yet. We have to add more effects, some transition, and a lot of things to this track. Maybe these parts to make it full. You're supposed to add the chords, add small instruments for the melodies and the sing and all that. But for this video, I just want to keep it short and show you how to arrange your track from a reference track using a pro track to arrange your track. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel.